The first time I collapsed was in the cereal aisle at Whole Foods. One second, I was reaching for organic granola. The next, my knees buckled, and I was staring at the fluorescent lights while strangers crowded around me. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was when my husband Mike stepped over me to grab his protein bars and said, "Stop being dramatic, Sarah. People are staring." I should have known then what was coming. 6 months earlier, I'd been a perfectly healthy 34-year-old marketing director living in Austin, Texas. Mike and I had just bought our dream house near Lake Travis, complete with the granite countertops and walk-in closet I'd pinned on Pinterest for years. Our daughter Emma was thriving in 2nd grade. Life was exactly where I'd planned it to be. Then the headaches started. Not normal headaches. These felt like someone was slowly inflating a balloon inside my skull. I'd wake up at 3 a.m. clutching my temples, stumbling to the bathroom to vomit. Mike would roll over and mutter about how I was keeping him awake before his important meetings. "Take an Advil," he'd say, pulling a pillow over his head. I did take Advil, and Tylenol, and Excedrin. Nothing touched these headaches. My primary care doctor, Dr. Chen, initially brushed it off as stress. "You're a working mom," she said, barely looking up from her tablet. "Try yoga, maybe cut back on caffeine." But I knew my body. Something was wrong. The fatigue hit next. Not tired after a long day fatigue, but bone-deep exhaustion that made lifting my coffee mug feel like bench-pressing weights. I'd sit in my car in the office parking lot, trying to summon the energy to walk inside. My boss, Jennifer, started making comments about my lack of enthusiasm during meetings. I wanted to scream that I was using every ounce of enthusiasm just to stay upright. Then came that day at Whole Foods. When the paramedics arrived, Mike was more concerned about our grocery list than my vital signs. "We still need those items for the dinner party tomorrow," he told me as they loaded me onto the gurney. The EMT, a young woman with kind eyes, shot him a look I'll never forget. Pure disgust masked as professionalism. The ER visit yielded nothing conclusive. Blood work normal. CT scan clear. They pumped me full of fluids and sent me home with a referral to a neurologist. The earliest appointment was 6 weeks out. 6 weeks of Mike sighing dramatically every time I couldn't cook dinner or help Emma with homework. 6 weeks of Jennifer checking in with that fake concern that really meant, "Are you going to keep your job?" During those 6 weeks, I started keeping a symptom journal. The headaches came in waves, worse in the morning. My vision would blur randomly. I'd be typing an email, and suddenly the screen would swim. My left hand developed a tremor so subtle I could hide it by keeping it in my pocket. I didn't tell Mike about the tremor. He'd already started sleeping in the guest room, claiming my tossing and turning disturbed his sleep. The neurologist, Dr. Patel, was the first doctor who actually listened. He sat forward in his chair, asked follow-up questions, took notes with an actual pen. "We need an MRI," he said. "With and without contrast. I want to rule some things out." "Rule what out?" I asked, though I already knew. I'd done the late-night Google searches, seen the worst-case scenarios. "Let's get the images first," he said gently. The MRI appointment was scheduled for the following Tuesday. Mike had a golf tournament that day. "Can't you reschedule?" he asked when I reminded him I'd need a ride home. They'd be injecting gadolinium contrast, and I might feel dizzy after. "It took 3 weeks to get this appointment," I said. He shrugged. "Take an Uber." So I did. I took an Uber to find out if I had brain cancer, alone. The MRI machine was louder than I expected. Even with the headphones playing classical music, the banging and whirring felt like being inside a washing machine. They injected the contrast halfway through, a cold sensation spreading up my arm. I focused on breathing, on not moving, on not thinking about what they might find. 45 minutes later, I was back in the Uber, the driver chatting about Austin traffic, while my phone burned in my pocket. Dr. Patel's office had already called. They wanted me to come in tomorrow. Not next week. Tomorrow. That night, I cooked Mike's favorite, ribeye with garlic mashed potatoes. He didn't notice my hands shaking as I set his plate down. Emma chattered about her science project, while I nodded and smiled, memorizing the way her nose crinkled when she laughed. After she went to bed, I told Mike about the appointment. "I'm sure it's nothing," he said, scrolling through his phone. "You always catastrophize." But it wasn't nothing. Dr. Patel's face told me everything before he spoke. "Sarah, the MRI shows a mass in your right temporal lobe. It's approximately 4 centimeters. 4 centimeters. Less than 2 inches. How could something so small be destroying my life?" "We need a biopsy to determine what we're dealing with," he continued. "I'm referring you to Dr. Martinez at Austin Brain and Spine. He's excellent." The words brain tumor kept bouncing around my skull like a pinball. I managed to ask the questions: what kind, what stage, what treatment? But the answers blurred together. Dr. Patel mentioned grades and types, astrocytoma and glioblastoma, words that meant nothing and everything. I called Mike from the parking lot. "I need you to come get me. I'm in a meeting. I have a brain tumor." Silence. Then, "How bad?" Not, "Are you okay?" Not, "I'm on my way." Just, "How bad?" Like he was calculating the inconvenience factor. "They don't know yet. I need a biopsy." "Okay, I'll leave in 20 minutes. He arrived in 45. The drive home was silent except for the sports radio he insisted on keeping on. At home, he poured himself a scotch and sat on the couch. "So, what happens now?" I explained about the biopsy, the neurosurgeon consultation, the likelihood of surgery followed by radiation and chemotherapy. His face grew increasingly distant with each word. "How long will all this take?" he asked. "Months, maybe a year, maybe longer." He nodded slowly, swirling his drink. "And your prognosis?" I wanted him to hold me, to tell me we'd fight this together. Instead, he was interviewing me like a business associate with a problematic quarterly report. "They won't know until after the biopsy." That night, he returned to our bedroom but stayed on his side, a careful distance between us. I lay awake, feeling the tumor, or imagining I could feel it, pulsing in my head. Was it growing right now? How long had it been there? The biopsy was scheduled for the following Monday. They'd drill a small hole in my skull, insert a needle, and extract tissue samples. "Minimally invasive," Dr. Martinez assured me. He was younger than I'd expected, with steady hands and a warm smile. "You'll go home the same day." Mike drove me this time, but spent the entire pre-op period on his laptop in the waiting room. The nurse, Rosa, held my hand as they wheeled me back. "Anyone here with you, honey?" "My husband. He's working." She squeezed my hand tighter. I woke up with a bandage on my head and the worst headache of my life, which was saying something. Mike was standing by the window, on his phone. "The March numbers are problematic," he was saying. "We need to restructure the whole campaign." "She's awake," Rosa said pointedly. He held up one finger, "Wait," and continued his call. The pathology results would take a week, 7 days of limbo. I went back to work because sitting at home was worse. Jennifer had already heard through the office grapevine and treated me like I was made of glass. "Take all the time you need," she said, which everyone knows means, "but not really." Emma knew something was wrong. Kids always do. "Why do you have a Band-Aid on your head, Mommy?" "Mommy had a little procedure. I'm okay." "Will you have to go to the hospital again?" "Maybe, sweetheart." She crawled into my lap that night, and I breathed in her strawberry shampoo smell, memorizing it. The call came on a Thursday afternoon. I was in a marketing meeting when my phone buzzed. Dr. Martinez's office. I excused myself and walked to the parking garage, where I sat in my car with the AC blasting. "Sarah, this is Dr. Martinez. I have your pathology results." "Okay." "It's a grade 3 anaplastic astrocytoma. This is a high-grade glioma, but it's not glioblastoma, which is good news. We caught it relatively early." Grade 3. High grade. The words meant aggressive. They meant my brain was trying to kill me. "What's next?" "Surgery first. I want to remove as much as possible. Then radiation and chemotherapy. We'll be aggressive with treatment." "When?" "I can schedule you for next Wednesday." 6 days. In 6 days, someone would cut open my skull and remove part of my brain. I sat in that parking garage for an hour, watching people come and go, living their normal, tumor-free lives. That evening, I told Mike about the surgery. He was eating takeout Thai food, pad Thai with extra peanuts. "Wednesday? I have the Henderson presentation. Wednesday." "They're doing brain surgery on me, Mike." "Right, of course, I'll reschedule." But he said it like I'd asked him to pick up milk on the way home. That night, I heard him on the phone with someone. His voice was low, but our house had thin walls. "It's not looking good," he said. "Brain tumor. Aggressive. The whole thing is a nightmare." Pause. "No, I don't know how long. The treatment could take months." Another pause. "Yeah, I know. I didn't sign up for this either." I didn't sign up for this either. The words hit like physical blows. I pressed my face into the pillow to muffle my sobs. In sickness and in health? Wasn't that what we'd promised? But Mike had always been good at renegotiating contracts. The weekend before surgery, I tried to prepare. Updated my will. Wrote letters to Emma for her birthdays until she turned 18, just in case. Cleaned the house obsessively, as if having organized closets would somehow help. Mike spent Saturday at the golf course and Sunday watching football with his buddies. "You should be resting," my mother said when she called from Phoenix. "I can't sit still, Mom." "Is Mike taking care of you?" "He's dealing with it in his own way." She made a sound that conveyed exactly what she thought of his way. Surgery day arrived gray and humid, typical August in Austin. Mike drove in silence while I stared out the window at the morning joggers on Town Lake Trail. Would I ever run again? Would I even walk normally? At the hospital, they prepped me for surgery. IV insertion, head shaving, endless consent forms. Mike sat in the corner texting. When transport arrived to take me to the OR, he finally looked up. "Good luck," he said. Not, "I love you." Just good luck, like I was heading into a job interview. Dr. Martinez appeared in scrubs, radiating calm confidence. "We're going to take good care of you, Sarah. The tumor is in a favorable location for resection. I'm optimistic." The anesthesiologist placed the mask over my face. "Count backward from 10. 10, 9, 8. I woke up in recovery with my head wrapped like a mummy and a tube down my throat. The pain was extraordinary. Not just my head, but my whole body, like I'd been hit by a truck. They kept me in the ICU that first night. Mike visited for exactly the mandated visiting hours, spending most of it on his laptop. "The Henderson deal went through," he announced, as if this was relevant to my current situation. Emma wasn't allowed in the ICU, but she'd drawn me pictures, crayon flowers and a sun with a smiley face. "Daddy said you're sick, but you'll get better," she'd written in her shaky second-grade handwriting. I taped them to the rail of my bed. Dr. Martinez came by the next morning. "We got about 90% of the visible tumor. That's very good. The margins looked clean, but we'll monitor closely." 90%, 10% still in there, plotting. When do I start radiation? Let's get you healed from surgery first. 4 to 6 weeks, then we'll begin radiation with concurrent chemotherapy. Temozolomide, most likely. They moved me to a regular room that afternoon. My mother had flown in from Phoenix and alternated with Mike on visits, though she spent her time actually helping, adjusting my pillows, bringing ice chips, reading to me when the headaches made it impossible to look at screens. Mike spent his visits in the chair by the window, working or talking on the phone in hushed tones. On day 3, I overheard another hushed conversation. "I can't do this, Brad," Mike was saying. "You didn't see her. Half her head is shaved, she can barely walk. And this is just the beginning. Months of radiation, chemo. She might not even be the same person after." The same person, as if brain surgery was a personality transplant. I was discharged on day 4 with a walker I despised and a bag full of medications, anti-seizure drugs, steroids, painkillers. Mike had to help me up the stairs to our bedroom. He did it mechanically, like moving furniture. Recovery was slow. The simplest tasks exhausted me. Showering required a shower chair and left me breathless. I couldn't drive. Seizure risk, they said. Mike hired a part-time home health aide, Teresa, who was kind, but whose presence meant he didn't have to help me himself. 2 weeks post-surgery, I had my first seizure. I was sitting at the kitchen table when the world tilted. Next thing I knew, I was on the floor with Teresa holding my head and Mike standing in the doorway, frozen. "Don't just stand there," Teresa snapped. "Call 911. The seizure meant adjusting medications, which meant more side effects, nausea, dizziness, confusion. Some days, I couldn't remember simple words. I'd point at the coffee maker and say, "The hot drink thing." Emma started finishing my sentences, her little face creased with worry. Mike started coming home later. "Business dinners," he said. "Client emergencies." One night, he didn't come home at all. "Fell asleep at the office," he texted at 6 a.m., but I could smell her perfume on his clothes when he finally arrived. Something floral and young, definitely not mine. Radiation started 6 weeks post-surgery. Every weekday for 6 weeks, I'd lay on a table while a massive machine aimed invisible beams at my brain. They made a custom mesh mask that bolted to the table to keep my head still. The first time they locked it down, I panicked. Couldn't breathe, couldn't move, trapped. "It's okay," the radiation tech, Marcus, said. "Just breathe. 20 minutes and you're done." 20 minutes, 5 days a week, for 6 weeks. 30 treatments total. I kept a calendar, crossing off each one like a prison sentence. The chemotherapy started the same week. Temozolomide pills every night. "Take them at bedtime," the oncology nurse advised. "Sleep through the worst of the nausea." But there was no sleeping through it. I'd wake at 2 a.m. to vomit, then lay on the bathroom floor because it was cooler than the bed. Mike never came to check on me. He'd moved permanently to the guest room by then, claiming my radiation might be contagious. I didn't have the energy to explain that's not how radiation works. By week 3, my hair started falling out, not just where they'd shaved for surgery, but everywhere the radiation touched. I'd find clumps on my pillow, in the shower drain. Emma helped me pick out hats online, modeling them herself to make me laugh. "You look pretty, Mommy," she'd say, even though I looked like a skeleton. The fatigue from radiation was different from tumor fatigue. This was cellular exhaustion, like every atom in my body was too tired to function. I'd sleep 16 hours and wake up exhausted. My skin where the radiation hit turned red and raw, like the worst sunburn. Mike hired a nanny for Emma, claiming I couldn't handle the school pickup routine anymore. The nanny, Brittany, was 25 and perky, and everything I wasn't anymore. I watched from my bedroom window as Mike chatted with her by her car, his hand on the roof, leaning in close. Jennifer called occasionally to check in, but I could hear the subtext. When are you coming back? The answer was never, probably. My short-term disability was running out, and long-term disability paid 60%. Mike had already started complaining about the medical bills. 20% of brain surgery is still thousands, he said, spreading out the EOBs on the kitchen table. And that's just the surgery, the radiation, the chemo, the medications. We're looking at 6 figures easy. I didn't choose to get a brain tumor, Mike. I know that, he snapped. I'm just being realistic about our situation. Our situation? Like this was happening to him. Week 4 of radiation, I could barely walk. The steroids had bloated my face and body. I'd gained 20 pounds of water weight. The anti-seizure medications made me confused. I called Emma by my sister's name. I couldn't remember our address when the pharmacy called. That's when I found the emails. I'd been trying to log into our insurance portal, but couldn't remember the password. Mike's laptop was open on the kitchen counter, already logged into his email. I went to search for the insurance information and saw the thread with someone named Ashley. Last night was incredible. Can't wait to hold you again. My wife doesn't understand me the way you do. My wife. Not Sarah. Just my wife. Like I was a broken appliance he was stuck with. The emails went back 2 months. 2 months of him sneaking around while I was fighting for my life. 2 months of him coming home with excuses while he was with her. Ashley from his gym. 28, and healthy and whole. I printed every email. All 47 of them. Then I sat at the kitchen table and waited. He came home at 11 p.m., smelling like wine and her perfume. You're up late, he said, not meeting my eyes. I pushed the stack of emails across the table. His face went through several expressions, surprise, anger, then a cold calculation. You went through my computer? That's your concern? Not the affair, but that I found out? He sat down, rubbing his face. Sarah, you have to understand. Understand what? That you're cheating on me while I have brain cancer? You're not the same person anymore. You're sick all the time. You can't. We haven't been intimate in months. Because I had brain surgery. And before that, it was headaches. Always something. Always something? I had a tumor. Emma appeared in the doorway, rubbing her eyes. Why are you yelling? Go back to bed, sweetheart, I managed. Is Daddy leaving again? Again. She'd noticed his absences, too. After I settled Emma back in bed, I found Mike packing a bag. Where are you going? Brad's place. I need space to think. You need space? I'm the one with cancer and a cheating husband. Don't be dramatic. Dramatic? You think this is dramatic? He zipped his bag. I'll be back for more things tomorrow. We should talk about next steps. Next steps? For us. For our arrangement. Arrangement. Our marriage had become an arrangement. He left that night and didn't come back the next day. Or the next. Emma kept asking when Daddy would come home. I kept lying and saying soon. I finished radiation the following week. Marcus the tech brought me a certificate. Congratulations on completing treatment, with a little gold star. I cried in the parking lot for 20 minutes. The final radiation treatment doesn't mean you're done. It means the worst is just beginning. The radiation keeps working for weeks after. Inflammation peaks. Fatigue worsens. I was taking 16 pills a day. Anti-seizure, steroids, anti-nausea, supplements. My pill organizer looked like a pharmacy. Mike finally came by the next Sunday, but not to reconcile. He brought divorce papers. You prepared these already? Ashley's father is a lawyer. He expedited them. Ashley's father. They were already meeting families. I have brain cancer, Mike. I'm in the middle of treatment. Which is why I'm proposing generous terms. You keep the house, I'll pay child support and maintain your insurance through the divorce. Generous. Like he was doing me a favor by leaving me while I fought for my life. What about in sickness and in health? He actually laughed. Come on, Sarah. We both know this marriage has been struggling. Your illness just clarified things. Clarified things. My tumor was apparently a marital clarity tool. I signed the papers. What choice did I have? I needed the insurance. Emma took it hard. Is it because you're sick? She asked one night, curled against me in bed. No, baby. Sometimes grown-ups just grow apart. But you need help. You're still sick. From the mouths of babes. My mother extended her stay, sleeping on the couch, driving me to appointments, cooking meals I couldn't eat. The chemotherapy had destroyed my taste buds. Everything tasted like metal. I lived on protein shakes and determination. 3 months after surgery, I had my first post-treatment MRI. The oncology team would compare it to the post-surgical scan, looking for growth, changes, any sign the tumor was returning. Scanxiety, they call it. The days before a scan when you convince yourself every headache is tumor regrowth. Every forgotten word is progression. I didn't sleep for 3 nights before that MRI. Dr. Martinez called with the results himself. A good sign. The scan looks good, Sarah. No evidence of progression. Some expected post-radiation changes, but the residual tumor appears stable. Stable? In cancer world, stable is winning. How long do I stay on chemo? Standard protocol is 12 months total. You're 3 months in, so 9 more to go. 9 more months of nausea, fatigue, low blood counts, but 9 months of keeping the cancer at bay. Mike moved in with Ashley the following month. He'd bring Emma back from his weekends chattering about Ashley's cooking, Ashley's pool, Ashley's perfect everything. I bit my tongue until it bled. But karma has a sense of humor. I found out through the neighborhood Facebook group, of all places. Someone posted about a car accident on Lamar. Mike's Tesla versus a concrete barrier. He was fine, airbags and crumple zones, but the police report mentioned distracted driving. The comments speculated about texting. Then Jennifer, my former boss, reached out. I heard about Mike's situation at work. What situation? You didn't know? He's under investigation for misallocation of funds. Something about expense reports and client entertainment. Client entertainment. All those dinners with Ashley charged to the company. The divorce was finalized just as Mike's world imploded. He lost his job on a Tuesday, got sued by his former company on Thursday. Ashley, turns out, wasn't interested in an unemployed man under legal investigation. She left him within 2 weeks. He called me crying one night, drunk. I messed up, Sarah. I threw away everything. Yes, you did. Can we talk? Maybe get coffee? No. But you're my wife. Ex-wife. You made that choice. I hung up and blocked his number. He still had to communicate about Emma, but only through a parenting app. The court had been very understanding about my medical situation and his abandonment. I got primary custody, the house, and substantial support. Meanwhile, I was slowly healing. The hair grew back curly where it had been straight. The radiation fatigue faded gradually. I started walking, then jogging, slow but steady. The chemotherapy ended after 12 months, and while I still had quarterly MRIs and daily anti-seizure meds, I was officially in remission. No evidence of disease, the report said. NED, the most beautiful acronym in oncology. Emma and I settled into a new rhythm. Quiet mornings, earlier bedtimes, less chaos. She'd curl up with me during my fatigue days, reading or drawing while I dozed. She never complained about the things we couldn't do anymore. The amusement parks that triggered headaches, the loud restaurants that overwhelmed my damaged processing. I like our quiet life, she said one evening, making us grilled cheese sandwiches because it was the one thing I could taste properly. Me too, baby. Mike's legal troubles continued. The fraud investigation led to charges. His lawyer, not Ashley's father anymore, advised settling. He paid restitution but avoided jail time. Wealthy white-collar criminals usually do. But his reputation was destroyed. No firm would touch him. Last I heard through the grapevine, he was working as an independent consultant, struggling to make rent on a one-bedroom apartment. Ashley had moved on to a surgeon at Seton Medical, someone healthy and successful, and nothing like Mike. The radiation oncologist, Dr. Kim, had warned me about late effects, cognitive changes that could appear months or years later. Your brain is remarkably plastic, she said. It finds new pathways. And it did. My memory wasn't what it was. I needed lists for everything, but I adapted. I returned to work part-time, doing freelance marketing from home. Jennifer, guilt-ridden about her earlier impatience, threw me clients. The tumor gave me clarity too, just not the kind Mike meant. It showed me who mattered. Emma, my mother, the friends who showed up with soup and sat through chemo appointments. My neighbor Carol, who mowed my lawn without being asked. Rosa, the nurse who still texts to check on me. Marcus from radiation, who sent a card on my 1-year anniversary. And it showed me who didn't matter. The fair-weather friends who disappeared when things got hard. The extended family who sent thoughts and prayers, but never actual help. Mike, who vowed to love me in sickness, but fled at the first MRI. I still have cancer. You never really beat brain cancer. You just negotiate a ceasefire. Every 3 months, I lay in that MRI machine and wait to see if the war has resumed. Every headache could be recurrence. Every forgotten word might be progression. But I'm here. I'm alive. I'm raising my daughter and rebuilding my life. Mike texted recently from a new number, asking if we could co-parent more effectively. Translation: he wanted to reduce child support. I forwarded it to my lawyer, the good one my mother hired, not Ashley's father, and didn't respond personally. Emma asked about him less now. Kids adapt faster than adults. She'd made friends with another girl whose parents divorced, and they compared notes like veterans. At least your dad didn't leave for someone named Ashley, her friend said, and Emma laughed, actually laughed about it. The house felt different without Mike's presence, lighter somehow. I converted his home office into an art studio for Emma. Painted the walls purple, her favorite color. Hung her drawings everywhere. The formal dining room he'd insisted on became a library, floor-to-ceiling books and a reading nook. It looks like us now, Emma said, surveying our changes. Us. We were an us, complete without him. The 2-year scan was clean. Dr. Martinez smiled wider than usual. 2 years is a milestone, Sarah. The risk of recurrence drops significantly. I celebrated with Emma at our favorite taco truck, the one Mike always said was too casual. We sat on the hood of my car, watching the sunset over Lake Travis, hot sauce dripping on our shirts. Are you scared it will come back? Emma asked. She was 9 now, old enough to understand mortality. Sometimes, but I'm more scared of not living while I can. She nodded, wise beyond her years. Like how Daddy was scared of you being sick, so he missed everything. From the mouths of babes, again. Mike's mother called last week. She'd maintained contact despite her son's behavior, sending Emma birthday cards and Christmas presents. I'm ashamed of him, she said quietly. His father had cancer, you know. I stayed through it all, the surgeries, the chemo, the fear. That's what you do. Not everyone can handle it, I said, surprising myself with the lack of bitterness. No, she agreed. But that says more about them than the situation. She was right. Mike's leaving wasn't about my tumor or the treatment or the changes. It was about him. His weakness, his selfishness, his inability to love beyond convenience. The funny thing about brain cancer is how it rearranges your priorities. I used to care about granite countertops and dinner parties and looking perfect at Mike's work events. Now I care about Emma's laugh and morning coffee and the way rain sounds on the roof. I care about MRI results and blood counts and the miracle of waking up without a headache. The surgeon had removed 90% of the tumor, but Mike had removed himself entirely. Guess which loss I mourned more? I met someone recently, another parent at Emma's school, widowed, not divorced. His wife died of breast cancer 2 years ago. We bonded over cancer terminology. He knew what NED meant, understood scanxiety, didn't flinch at my medication schedule. My wife had a port, he said over coffee. I learned to flush it. Mike couldn't even pick up my prescriptions. We're taking it slow, this widower and I. Emma likes him. He coached her soccer team, never missing a game despite his own grief. He brings me flowers, but also anti-nausea tea. He asks about my MRI schedule and puts the dates in his phone. You deserve someone who shows up, my mother said, watching him help Emma with homework while I rested. Show up, such a simple concept, but apparently beyond some people's capability. The 3-year scan is next month. I'm not as anxious this time. Maybe because I've learned to live with uncertainty, or maybe because I've already survived the worst. Not the cancer, but the abandonment. The cancer was just biology gone wrong. Mike's leaving was a choice. Emma's teacher pulled me aside at pickup yesterday. She wrote an essay about her hero, she said, handing me the paper. I thought you should see it. My hero is my mom, it began. She had brain cancer and brain surgery and radiation and chemotherapy. But that's not why she's my hero. She's my hero because she stayed. Even when she was sick and tired and scared, she stayed. She didn't leave me like my dad did. Heroes don't leave. Heroes don't leave. I sat in my car crying, the good kind of tears. The kind that wash away the last residue of anger and hurt and betrayal. The kind that make room for something better. Mike still sends his child support, electronically, no note attached. I heard he's dating again. Someone from his CrossFit gym, because apparently that's his hunting ground. I hope she never gets sick. Or maybe I hope she does, just to see if he's learned anything. Probably not. Some people are simply incapable of growth, unlike tumors which grow just fine. But I'm not thinking about Mike much these days. I'm thinking about Emma's soccer tournament and my next freelance project, and the widower who asked if I'd like to see a movie Friday. Something funny, nothing with hospitals. I'm thinking about the tulip bulbs I planted last fall that are now pushing through the soil, proof that planning for the future isn't jinxing it. The tumor took things from me. Cognitive speed, peripheral vision in one eye, the ability to remember where I put my keys. But it gave me things too. Perspective, appreciation, the knowledge that I can survive anything. It showed me that marriage vows are just words for some people, but actions for others. How do you forgive him? A woman in my brain tumor support group asked. Her husband had also left during treatment. I don't, I said. I just stopped carrying him. That's the secret, I think. Not forgiveness or closure or even karma, though Mike certainly got his share. The secret is releasing the weight of someone else's failure to love you properly. Their inability to show up isn't your burden to carry. Last week was the anniversary of my diagnosis. 3 years since that MRI revealed the unwelcome tenet in my temporal lobe. I marked it by taking Emma to Whole Foods, to the cereal aisle where I'd collapsed. We stood there, surrounded by overpriced granola, and I told her the story. This is where it all started, I said. Where Daddy showed who he really was, she corrected. We bought the most expensive organic cereal they had, the kind Mike always said was a waste of money. We ate it for dinner with strawberries and whole milk, another thing Mike had opinions about. To survival, I toasted with my cereal spoon. To staying, Emma countered. To staying, because that's what love is, not the words or the rings or the perfect wedding photos. It's showing up when someone needs you, even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. My phone buzzed. A text from the widower. Thinking of you today. The anniversary days are hard. He remembered. Without me telling him, he'd put it in his phone and remembered. Thank you, I texted back. Want to get coffee later? Always, he replied. Always. Such a dangerous word, one I'd believed before. But maybe the tumor taught me something about always too. That it's not a promise about forever, but about right now. This moment, showing up today and tomorrow and the next day. As long as the MRIs stay clean and the headaches stay manageable, and life keeps offering opportunities to choose love over leaving. The sun was setting through the kitchen window, casting everything in gold.